pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As you were told at the door, we have a situation here with the COVID. One of our town and
They are, actually.
Frank, just move it a lot closer. Like this, over in here. There you go.
maybe it's the mask that's interfering. I don't know. We have a situation here tonight with the one of our town employees has tested positive. I found out about it this afternoon, but we felt that as long as we told you people about it, and you wear your mask and social distance, we should be all right.
Just for clarification, he was not in the building at all this week.
Yeah,
but
the last time he was in was on Friday.
Yeah, I can see him talking. Yeah.
Getting back to the COVID, last Thursday, I had to declare a state of emergency because we had a COVID outbreak up at the highway garage. And in order to institute an intrastate mutual aid program, it was necessary to enact a state of emergency, which I did. It's good for 30 days, but you have to renew it every 5 days. I renewed it yesterday, so it's good till Sunday. The town crew is back in action, and the county is no longer needed to cover our sections that they were covering. However, the town of Clinton is going to cover the north section of town until we can get a full crew back up and running. With that, I'd like to thank Dana Smith, Bill Beal with the Dutchess County Department of Emergency Services. I'd like to thank Bob Balkine, the Dutchess County DPW Commissioner. I'd like to thank Todd Martin, Town of Clinton Highway Superintendent, and Joe Spagnola, Town of Washington Highway Superintendent. Everybody was covered perfectly, and it worked very well. And so that's the story on the COVID. I hope at some point we'll end this disaster. We seem to be heading, we got through it pretty good, and now we're getting the end of it. And it's really not that easy to work with. With that, I'm going to change some of the agenda tonight. I'm going to move the open meeting to the public to the back end of the agenda. I'm going to let, under oral committee reports, I'm going to let the budget officer make her report the first thing. So if you want, Melanie, you can step up to the podium.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good evening, everyone. My name is Melanie, and I'm the bookkeeper here for Pleasant Valley and this year's budget officer. I wanted to talk to everybody a little bit about with the tax increase you saw this year in your tax bills of 17.5%. In short, that was due to the library being charged both in the property tax and as a separate line item. When I prepared the budget, the amount to be raised by taxes was kept flat. That was something that was extremely important to the supervisor and all the board members here, and we worked very hard to make that happen. So we were very, very surprised when we saw these tax bills go out at 17.5%. After I prepared the budget, I submitted it to the Dutchess County Real Property Tax. Afterwards, we received what they call a spreadsheet with an amount to be raised by taxes, was slightly different from the number that was on our budget. This is what they give us. So I called and I asked her, what the difference was, and she explained that the difference was due to homes being sold with an enhanced star that are no longer entitled to that enhanced star, which was about $700. So we signed the sheet and we sent it back to the county. When the tax bills got out there, we realized, especially myself, I'm a resident here at Pleasant Valley, opened it and saw the tax increase. I contacted Real Property Tax and I asked her, what was going on. And she said that, well, in the past, Pleasant Valley would deduct the amount from the spreadsheet from what's given in our budget. Just cross it out and write how much they wanted the taxes to be, and in this case, reduced by $440. She felt bad about what happened here, but she wasn't sure if she should bring it to my attention the first time I called her. That was unfortunate. Previously, I worked 16 years in corporate finance of a large company located in Poughkeepsie, but I am a new bookkeeper here in Pleasant Valley, and the board, knowing that, with that knowledge, the board continued the fee accountant and CPA that have worked here and served the town for many years. She was a tremendous help to me when I was starting here, and she provided me with the Excel sheet that we use for the budgets. Okay, and this is the same one that's been used every year, you know, since she's been the fee accountant, which I'm not sure how many years. So 2021, 2020. There were no notes here or anything on how to prepare a budget. So I used the Excel spreadsheet, and the template that was there had always been used. In the budget, the special districts, the fire, ambulance, and light, all have an appropriations and a revenue. The library does not. And so previously, the county would use this spreadsheet to figure out the tax amount. So even though your tax amount that's on the budget, that the public gets, that the board passes, is different from what the county sends out because of this spreadsheet we just cross out and write. So going forward, I feel that the budget must be corrected, the template, so that it reflects the library also having the expense and the appropriations, so that the amount is not fudged on a spreadsheet. I feel that the number that is given in that budget to the public and that the board passes and that's certified and sent to the county should be the number that's on there. So in conclusion, for this year, with that additional money of that $440 that's in the taxes, we've been instructed or been advised by our attorneys and our new accountant with RBT that this money will be set aside and deposited into a separate bank account, and it will go back into the taxes for next year. So that's all I have to say, and thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Melanie. Going on with the agenda, we have the county legislators here. Would you like to?
Good evening, Deirdre Houston, Dutchess County Legislator. I came to just give you guys an update on the COVID vaccine rollout from the county, and then just talk quickly about our February 8th legislative meeting. As probably everyone is aware, demand for the vaccine continues to far exceed supply. We're just not getting enough doses, and I know there's a real angst about the vaccine. You can sign up for appointment notifications through the county. It's duchessny.gov. This week, Dutchess County received 1,200 doses of the vaccine. Due to the prioritization mandate from New York State, this week's vaccine supply will be distributed to essential workers as described in Phase 1B of the state. There will be no public scheduling of vaccine appointments this week. Some of the Rite Aids and Walgreens in Dutchess County are receiving the vaccine. This week, some of the local branches received 100 doses, and of course, those appointments went in seconds this morning. Sun River Health in Poughkeepsie, Amenia, Dover, Beacon are receiving vaccines each week too. They're part of the federal program. You can go on duchessny.gov and sign up for the waiting list, and they will contact you if they have like cancellations of appointments, something opens up that day, or you can also get, if they get more vaccine than anticipated, they'll call you. Lastly, for the vaccine, the VA Hudson Valley is hosting a walk-in clinic for the vaccine. It happened today, part of it. The rest of it is on Friday. It's for eligible veterans who are enrolled with the VA and are at least 65 years or older or frontline essential worker. It's Friday, February 19th from 9:30 to 3:30 at the FDR Montrose and Castle Point locations. And again, that's a walk-in clinic for any veteran who meets that category. And then just to update you guys on our February 8th meeting for the legislature, there was a pretty routine meeting. We did some tax bill errors and things like that. But the most important thing that we did was we passed a bond resolution to upgrade the LED lighting at the Dutchess Stadium, which is a county park. We received many letters from constituents and other Dutchess County residents for support of the resolution for the bond. And it will allow us to bring a Class A affiliate of the New York Yankees to Dutchess Stadium to play what they're considering long season ball. Currently, it's a shorter season. It's about 36 games a season, and this will be about a 70-game season. So it will hopefully be a big economic boom to the county and bring in some new tourism and things like that. So I was happy to support it. And lastly, I just wanted to reiterate what Supervisor Szynski said about the state of emergency, just thanking Town of Washington, Town of Clinton for all their help, and County DPW, and just hoping that the Pleasant Valley Highway Department gets well quickly, especially with the snow on the way. So thank you. Any questions for me? I'm happy to try and answer. Thanks.
Thank you.
Don Sagliano, Legislator, District 2, Dutchess County. I'm a Pleasant Valley resident. To add on to a couple things that Deidre spoke about, Ms. Houston, the next e-waste and hazardous waste collection event is going to be scheduled on May 8th. The registration will open on April 8th. The other dates during the year are June 9th, 19th, and October 2nd. The registration will open one month prior to each event, and that's through the Resource Recovery Agency of the county. In addition, I don't know if the town board's aware of it. I only found this information out today, that the county's final sales tax payments for 2020 are going to be $11 million lower than what was budgeted. Now, the county, through its emergency response program and what we did at the county for the last year by maintaining fiscal responsibility and oversight, that's not going to be an impact at the county level, but it may be an impact at each individual town, city, and village, because that's going to be the aggregated number that's used to calculate your sales tax revenue for the current year. When I looked at the budget, I wasn't able to ascertain what was included in that, because there's only one line for all state taxes apportionment. So anyway, just to let you know, it only came out today from Jessica White, who's the the county budget officer. I did want to speak to the fact that opening the meeting of the public was moved after the new business. So the general idea for opening the meeting to the public is for the public to be able to articulate their questions and concerns with agenda items. So by moving it after the business agenda, I don't feel that the board will hear the voices of the town residents many that are here to speak regarding the agenda items. So I just wanted to make a statement about that. In addition to that, I'm here because many residents have contacted me, and I share their voice both as a taxpayer and as an elected official. We just got a brief presentation from your budget officer, but it's 3 weeks from when the tax bill issue was discovered. 2 weeks ago, in this same room, I was here, and I made a request that the comptroller be contacted. I don't know if that was done, because the new town attorney sitting right here contradicted that statement. So the questions I have for the town board, has the comptroller or the comptroller's office performed an audit or a root cause analysis? What will be the recourse for our fellow residents? What is the remedy? I understand that the monies will be segregated. Will those monies be turned over to the Dutchess County fiscal agent to hold for safekeeping? There clearly was a deficiency in the quality control of the tax bills. I understand the lack of institutional knowledge, but it also speaks to a lack of a fiduciary response. 2 weeks ago, some members of this board were blaming the library. The library has done nothing wrong. They have a 414 amount that's received from the town each year, and that should be well-founded. I reached out to the county over the last week. They stated that the town was going to issue a statement that the county changed the form. Let me clarify, the form, the cover sheet that is submitted by the town to the county has not changed for many years. In addition to that, 10 years ago, there was an issue with the tax bills, and it was caught by the quality control and process that was in place. So, to that assertion, that's like saying the dog ate my homework. For many months, we've been hearing how busy everyone is. This element of levying the taxes is the most important function that the town provides. It's even on your town website as one of the 5 items that the town government produces. Number 2, levy taxes. The lack of transparency and communication to the residents who you serve from this body has been disrespectful to the residents who pay your salaries. Obviously, the residents here were not too busy because many of them are here to have their voices be heard. Maybe the body needs to look themselves in the mirror and say, am I part of the problem or am I the solution? On another item, I understand the recycling and transfer station was closed last weekend. That was not noted on the town website, and my question for the residents would be, will it be open this weekend?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, under new business. Any more discussion on the property tax?
Actually, yes.
You should grab your mic.
I'm not going to need it.
Nope.
There you go. I cannot breathe. My asthma, I can't do it. I am as disturbed about all of this as everybody else is. On Friday, the 29th, a resident called the town clerk's office and asked why the assessment equalization rate went from 100 to 97.5. Frank Mazzella then asked for prior year's budgets and realized that there was a serious difference. So I just want to go down with facts. Okay, this is no added anything. Ray DiCilli was hired to help our bookkeeper in January 2020. RBT was hired by the board on December 2nd, well after the taxes were handed in. Our adopted budget was done November 18th. The county forms, as Don said, have not been changed for several years, and it was tried to be blamed on that. Maggie from the county has nothing to do with the numbers whatsoever, okay? And she was tried to be blamed on. The clerk does not certify the budget. She mails the final budget information to the county, Dutchess County Real Property Tax Department, along with a cover page certifying it was mailed with all the board members on it and the town clerk's signature and date. This process does not happen until after the bookkeeper sends the budget. It is the bookkeeper's responsibility to send it in, but the town clerk was thrown under the bus. She got a million phone calls blaming her for this problem. During our budget process this year, there were several steps bypassed, and is one of the reasons we had to pass a special law for 2 salaries to be increased. And it was due to the absence of meeting correctly for the budget. By the way, the salaries did not increase the taxes, just so that everybody understands that. I take some of the blame for this, as I was involved with last year's budget and should have realized it was not being handled correctly. In the previous year, we met with each department to make sure of what we needed to do for them and not the other way around. This year, there were things taken out of the budget we were never made aware of. Example, John Baxter had line for $80,000, which is the money to use to fix the roads early in the spring. It was taken away without discussing it with him. On the last page of the budget we were supposed to adopt, there were several pages in highlights. It was never explained to us that we were in fact supposed to eliminate the highlighting on the last page, which was to allow John to hire more employees, which he needed. It was added in the total of that page and never brought to our attention. We found out a week later when John took an application for one of the positions into the bookkeeper, and she informed him there was no money in the budget for additional employees. We were then told the highlighted area on the last page was not supposed to be added in, but it was added into the total on that page. The winter rental line was cut out of the budget also for $6,000, as well as a few other lines. This rental line is used for extra help with the cul-de-sacs, such as during what just happened. Our whole department was down with 103 fever, except for 2 guys. The part-time employee, there are supposed to be 10 positions available to highway. The part-time employees' salaries were being paid out of the 10th spot and now are being paid out of the overtime. There are too many budget faux pas to ignore, as our supervisor's main job is to be the town CFO. I am sorry, but in 2021, anyone in this position must be able to respond to emails or at least communicate. We have not received enough emails from our supervisor to fill a thimble. I'm sorry. The fact that we do not get any correspondence passed on to us is disturbing to me. I have only received information from Deidre Houston in reference to COVID-19 policies. And if it wasn't, I have to thank her, you're here, I didn't realize you were still here, for taking my calls and always getting back to me. You were a huge, huge help to me during the COVID-19 and helping me write that whole debacle of a thing. I want to remind everyone that this is our supervisor's second round of being in this position, which means he's been through 3 budgets to date. This should not have happened. I am also extremely disappointed, Don, in the fact that you never have shown up at a workshop meeting for us. It never happens. And thought that during an election year, it would make us all look bad due to this tax issue. Believe me, we're well aware of this issue and we were trying to narrow down what was happening before announcing anything, because there's nothing worse than putting information out in front of all of our constituents without all of the facts. I am extremely upset about these issues and took this position to watch over all the people of Pleasant Valley, not just a handful of people. I know this is an extremely hard time financially for people. I know there are many people in our town who have been out of work, with many families not having enough food, let alone for extra taxes. All I can do is apologize and let you know I will work with the attorneys and or whoever I have to make this right. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
So I have some questions, I guess, and this is kind of time for you, I guess, you guys to chime in a little bit, but just to clarify, so we clearly we overtax residents, right? So before we go into how it happened, we need a solution, right? So the simple solution is you could explain it better than I can, Paul, so.
Yeah, so let me just, thank you for the question, respond first that we have been in contact with the Comptroller's Office. They are aware of the situation. We are working with the Comptroller's Office. A representative of the Comptroller's Office is here today. And if there was any contradiction, it was just at the last meeting that I personally had not been in contact with the Comptroller's Office at that point because we were still trying to figure out exactly what was going on. So obviously, the board did not authorize by local law the exceeding of the tax cap, the statutory tax cap, which is required in order to exceed the tax cap. So that was not done. So the town board did not have authority to exceed the tax cap and has collected or will collect monies over and above the tax cap. So with that said, the issue is that the solution to that is to take those sums of monies that were not authorized to be taxed and to segregate it into a separate account and to use that monies to reduce the tax burden for 2022. So essentially, you're collecting it this year, you're going to return it to the taxpayers next year as if it was never collected. That is just required for that portion that is over and above what would have been authorized. Authorized. However, the intention of the town board was to adopt a budget that was flat or had essentially the same levy as 2020, and therefore there is going to be a difference between what you could collect and what would not be authorized because you didn't exceed the tax cap. So the town board can either put all of the money in and reduce the tax burden next year, or it can put that amount that was not authorized by law because you didn't exceed the cap segregated, but that portion has to be done. There's no way around it. Legally, that has to be done. So my recommendation would be, at a subsequent meeting, probably sooner rather than later, to adopt a resolution creating an account and then instructing the tax collector to put those monies that exceed the tax cap or that were not authorized pursuant to the budget in a segregated account, and that money will be returned to the taxpayers next year in the form of a reduction in their tax burden.
Paul, I have a question.
Sure.
So going forward, if this is done, that the actual number itself being set aside, is that enough? Aren't we on the hook for the possible interest on it? Some people in the process will move away. Some people will move in. How do we completely get it back correctly to the people in total whole? I mean,
Sure.
making the people whole is really what I'm more concerned about.
So, this is a unique situation, and again, we'll work with the Comptroller's Office on their opinion, but it's my opinion that simply just what has to be done is that it has to go to reduce your tax burden next year. So if you were to be flat next year, essentially you're going to reduce the levy by $440,000 or some amount, at least up to the tax cap. So that will be reduced your tax levy next year. Okay. I don't believe, and I don't believe there's a requirement that you're actually going to reimburse every single taxpayer. It's just the taxpayers will be reduced with a reduction in their tax burden.
All right. Thank you.
Well, I also have a question here, because honestly, it's my feeling that if there is any legal way possible, and I suppose our young gentleman from the Comptroller's Office can answer this better, is there any legal way possible that we can refund our taxpayers the overpayment this year? Because to me, that's the morally right thing to do.
So let me just, before if the comptroller, if Mr. Martini wants to respond, I'll leave that up to him. But let me just say that essentially, the tax bills have been printed. We've been in contact with the county. It's my understanding that the county has told us that they cannot reprint corrected tax bills, and I am not aware of any other mechanism to return or refund the taxpayers the difference at this point.
So that would have to be, as the tax collector, that extra money would be my responsibility to put into a separate account?
Correct. Well, it's my intention to have the town board adopt a resolution specifying exactly what that amount is, and then that money will be deposited by you into a separate account,
Okay.
which will be then used to offset tax burden next year.
Okay, and that would be monitored by me or the bookkeeper?
No, that would be monitored by you as the receiver of taxes.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Any other questions for me?
Mine was answered.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, number 2, recreation resolutions. We have quite a few.
Yeah.
Okay, resolution number 2105 of 2021, establishing the rates for the Pleasant Valley Camp Sunny Days Summer Camp. Whereas the town board of the town of Pleasant Valley Recreation intends to operate summer day camp, Camp Sunny Days, and whereas the town board of the town of Pleasant Valley intends to operate Camp Sunny Days for 6 weeks, and whereas the town hereby desires and intends to establish the tuition rates for Camp Sunny Days, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Pleasant Valley hereby establishes tuition rates for Camp Sunny Days as follows. $190 per 2-week session for Pleasant Valley residents during early registration. $200 per week session for 2-week session for Pleasant Valley residents during regular registration. $240 per 2-week session for non-residents of Pleasant Valley during early registration. $250 per week per 2-week session for non-residents of Pleasant Valley during regular registration. $30 for 2-week session for early drop-off starting at 7:30 a.m. for Pleasant Valley residents. $35 for a 2-week session for early drop-off starting at 7:30 for non-residents of Pleasant Valley. $35 for a 2-week session for late pickup ending at 5 p.m. for Pleasant Valley residents. $40 per 2-week session for late pickup ending at 5 p.m. for non-residents of Pleasant Valley. $25 per day if we offer day trips, and therefore be it further resolved that these rates shall remain in effect until further changed or modified by the town board.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to noted that Sandy has worked tirelessly to offer before and after care now. So we're planning Camp Sunny Days at Helen Aldridge Park, and it's kind of a wonderful thing of being a full-time working parent to be able to have, early and after summer camp care. So thank you, Sandy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 2106 of 2021, authorizing the Town of Pleasant Valley Recreation Department to conduct a basketball camp program. Whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley Recreation Department is desirous of conducting a 1-week basketball camp, and whereas the Recreation Department has recommended it be held during the summer, and whereas the camp will feature Coach Brian Laffin as an independent contractor, and whereas the town board hereby desires and intends to establish the tuition rates for the basketball camp program as follows. $105 per session for Pleasant Valley residents during early registration. $130 per session for Pleasant Valley residents during regular registration. $130 per session for non-residents during early registration. $155 per session for non-residents of Pleasant Valley during regular registration. And whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley Recreation Department will be responsible for setup, rental request fees, if any, general facility logistics, and administer all phases of the admission process. And whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley Recreation Department will provide one counselor per every 10 campers. And whereas the camp will provide comprehensive basketball instructional skills and development training. And whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley will receive 50% of the total amount collected in registration fees, less expenses, and the independent contractor will receive 50% of the total collected for registration, minus the cost of 2 adult counselors to be compensated by the Town of Pleasant Valley. And whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley retains the right to cancel this camp on the event that the minimum of 23 people do not enroll, now therefore be resolved, the Town of Pleasant Valley Recreation Department is authorized to conduct a summer basketball camp consistent with the terms as heretofore specified herein. And then be it further resolved that this is effective until further changed or modified by the town board.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 2107 of 2021. Authorizing requests for proposals for lawn care for the Town of Pleasant Valley. Whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley is interested in soliciting proposals for lawn care for the Town of Pleasant Valley, now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town clerk to solicit proposals for qualified lawn care contractors to the Town of Pleasant Valley, which such proposals are to be returned to the town clerk no later than March 26, 2021 at 1 p.m.
So moved.
Discussion?
Yes. I reluctantly went along with putting all this money out to do this last year. Some folks are very insistent that we had to farm it out. But it really doesn't set well with me in that we have the equipment to do it, bought and paid for, and in good working order. I think before we even move forward with this, we should sit down and figure out exactly what we can put in place and what will it cost the town to have town employees do it, even if it's somebody seasonal possibly. I'm sure there's quite a few retired folks out there with lawn mowing experience that would love to have the summer job and can do a bang-up job for us. So, I'd like to suggest that we table this until we look at the alternatives at the very least.
I will say that we have gone, and I've coached many sports in this town, through times of having town employees take care of the fields, and all any sport organization could do to the town is complain, because the town couldn't keep up with the weed whacking and the mowing. We've never had, I got to be honest, last year I don't think we had but one complaint from anybody that used any of our facilities.
And what did it cost us for that last year?
20
I think it was close to 30,000, I think.
It wasn't that much. It was around 17. Mhm.
Okay.
And let me ask a question.
Yep.
And so we paid this $30,000.
No, 17. 17.
I
Oh,
just,
so I'm sorry, 17, that's why I heard 30, and that, what? So we paid this money, and we really didn't have much of any sports at all. So who can complain?
No. Well, no.
I mean,
Little
wasn't
League,
there-
no, everything was delayed, but Little League played their season. We had a full soccer season. What other sports, Andy?
Yeah, it was basically baseball and soccer.
By the time we can get around to
So
using the facilities.
So obviously, that's less the amount of mowing and stuff that we usually go through, correct?
But it'll be different this year. I already got approval for spring soccer.
Okay.
and
And baseball is on point to run normal.
And Sandy, what was it like the year before that? When we tried to do it ourselves?
It was horrible. I mean, we did get a lot of complaints, weed whacking. We only have 2 staff that leave at 2:30 in order to do their normal routine, plus do the mowing of all the fields, including the West Road fields. So it's quite a bit. I mean, for baseball, it's horrific.
I remember,
Large fields, too, very large, very large.
All right, so then essentially, so we're not going to use any of the equipment that we purchased, correct?
Well, we only have.
no, there are properties that they have to maintain because of prevailing wage.
Because last spring, I bought a brush hog we have a bench rack. We only have one machine. So I bought the brush hog, so now they can go up to the Bauer Field and do the trails up there. And before that, we were dependent on volunteers, and that didn't work out so well either. So now we have, it's a nice piece of equipment. We have a snow blower for it, we have a brush hog, and a lawnmower. But one lawnmower cannot do all the fields, especially with the limited time they work. The contractor goes when he's needed. Our guys go from 7:30 to 2:30.
Okay.
So it's a very complicated for our guys to perform what they need to do.
And the school only wants them there at certain times. So that's another issue with our guys.
Yep.
Motion,
Keith, are you making a motion to table this, Keith?
Yes, I think I'd feel better if we at least took a little time to look at it, and even possibly, okay, if we had to purchase another piece of equipment.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion, just to take a look and see make a nice comparison as to what we could maybe improve at what we already have, or maybe have to go outside. That's fine, so I'll second that motion.
okay.
Yeah, good, just use the mic for me, Sandy.
And we have time yet.
Well, that's it. I mean,
No
it's
one's mowing the lawn
February.
now.
It's only mid-February.
Well, actually, you don't, because if you table it to the next meeting, which is March, and then you first go out for bids, what is it, a 45-day period for bids? Technically, we've already, hopefully, be able to get on the fields. April 10th will be the first game for
We could
for
certainly
soccer.
put it out to bid right now and have the bids ready to go if we need to. In the meantime, we could take the time and investigate.
So then we wouldn't table this then?
Then we wouldn't
Then we
table
wouldn't
it.
table this.
Let's vote on it, and
Well, we got to vote to table it first, because that's what's on the floor, so.
so let's roll call.
But my question is, if we approve this, do we have to accept bids, or
No.
do we still have the option to do it ourselves?
We don't have to accept the bids.
We're just asking for proposals. If we do accept the bid, we have to take the lowest bid, but not necessarily, we don't have to take any of the bids.
All right, in that case, I can accept that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
well, it's formality, so you got a roll call for the tabling.
Councilwoman Auburn?
No.
Councilman Delvecchio?
This is for tabling.
This is just for tabling, so,
Yeah.
okay, aye.
Councilman Nazala?
Nay.
Councilman O'Hanlon?
Okay, I'll say nay, because I just kind of agreed to it for
Thank you.
tabling.
Supervisor Suzanne?
aye.
Nay.
Nay, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No,
No,
we can't do
No,
that.
we can't do it that way, sorry.
You gotta
Sorry.
reintroduce it again.
So reintroduce
Good
it. So I'll remake the motion to send out the RFPs according to this bid packet.
Second? I'll second it.
I already, Frank
already been
Gisella
seconded.
first did. I
Right.
seconded it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All we have to do is vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, carried. All right, resolution number 2107. Authorizing request for proposal, oh, we did that one, okay.
Yep. I was gonna say.
All right, resolution number 2108, filling of vacancies for Recreation Committee. Whereas the town board of the town of Pleasant Valley created a Recreation Committee by resolution number 57/2152, and whereas the committee will help with the brainstorming of new ideas and programs for the Recreation Department, and whereas there are 5 vacancies on the committee, whereas the town board, town of Pleasant Valley, would like to fill those vacancies, and now therefore be it resolved that the town board, town of Pleasant Valley hereby authorizes the town clerk to post vacancies in accordance with town law.
I think you're looking at the wrong one. I think you got the wrong one. It's got name, we should be.
I got this one here.
Yeah, you have the. I don't know what you're.
No, because the last one was the long here, and then,
No. This is, I think you got the wrong copy of this.
oh, I got the wrong copy.
So let me, I'll read I was
Okay, read
so confused. I'm like, you're skipping over things and I don't see what you're reading here.
Well, I was reading the right thing.
No, you were reading that, but that's not the right resolution. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Pleasant Valley created a Recreation Committee by Resolution Number 57 of 2012, and whereas the committee will help with brainstorming of new ideas and programs for the Recreation Department, and whereas the current Recreation Committee is inactive and all its current members' terms have expired and are holdover appointments, and whereas there are 5 holdover members on the committee, and whereas the Town Board of the Town of Pleasant Valley would like to appoint members to fill those holdovers, now therefore be it resolved that the following individuals are hereby appointed to the Recreation Committee for the terms set herein. Angel Abreu, his term will expire December 31st, 2025. Frank Mazzella, a term to expire December 31st, 2024. Monica Meddy, term to expire December 31st, 2023. Corey Greenspan, term to expire December 31st, 2022, and Allison Squires, term to expire December 31st, 2021. And I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. All right, hope I got the right one this time. 2020, resolution number 2109, establishing the rates for the Town of Pleasant Valley Youth Junior Leadership Day Camp Program. Whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley Recreation Department is desirous of conducting a junior leadership program eligible 13 through 15-year-olds, and whereas the Town Board, Town of Pleasant Valley, intends to operate the junior leadership program at the summer day camp, therefore now it be resolved that the Town Board of Town of Pleasant Valley hereby establishes the tuition rates for the junior leadership program as follows. 2-week sessions, $165 for Pleasant Valley residents. 2-week sessions, $190 for non-residents of Pleasant Valley. $25 per day trip, if we offer day trips, includes transportation fees, but excludes food. If the drop-off late date pickup is requested, current registration rates will apply. And therefore, be it further resolved that this shall remain in effect until further changed or modified by the Town Board.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
You want me to do it?
Huh?
You want me to do it?
You can do it a couple.
All right. Town Board Resolution 2110 of 2021, authorizing the acceptance of gifts to the Town of Pleasant Valley. Whereas pursuant to Town Law 64, subset 8, Town Board of the Town of Pleasant Valley may take gift, grant, bequest, or devise or hold real and personal property absolutely in trust for parks or gardens, or for the erection of statues, monuments, buildings, or structures, or for any public use, upon such terms or conditions may be prescribed by the grantor or donor and accepted by the town, and provide the proper administration of the same. And whereas the Town Board of the Town of Pleasant Valley has received offers of donations as continued on the schedule annexed hereto, therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Pleasant Valley, on behalf of all the residents of the Town of Pleasant Valley, hereby gratefully accept the donations as contained on the scheduled annexed hereto. Pleasant Valley Rotary is donating miscellaneous items for the Easter goodie bags, which is going to be a curbside pickup. The approximate value is about $200. And North Star Sports, Poughkeepsie's volunteer participation during the morning session of Pleasant Valley's one-week basketball camp for approximately a half an hour. They conduct our warm-ups and provide sports-specific training for our campers. This gives our campers modified version of what many basketball programs at high levels do. Our camp encourages a proper warm-up to lessen the chance of injury and stresses the importance of physical fitness. I will make a motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You want to do another one?
Yeah, sure, I'll keep going. Town Board Resolution Number 2111 of 2021, establishing the rates for the Pleasant Valley Spring In-House Soccer. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Pleasant Valley intends to operate a co-ed spring in-house soccer program, and whereas the Town Board hereby desires and intends to establish a tuition rate for the co-ed spring in-house soccer program as follows. Pleasant Valley residents, $80 for the first child, $70 for the second child, $60 for each additional child, and non-residents of Pleasant Valley, $90 for the first child, $80 for the second child, and $70 for the third, and so on. And be it further resolved that these rates shall remain in effect until such time that it is changed by further resolution from the town board. I will make another motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2112 of 2021, the recreation program cancellation and refund policy. Whereas the town board of the town of Pleasant Valley adopted a recreation program cancellation and refund policy by town board resolution number 70 of 2020, and whereas an amendment to the policy was adopted by the town board resolution number 128 of 2020, and whereas the town board desires to use the original recreation programs cancellation and refund policy adopted by the town board resolution number 70 of 2020, a copy of which is annexed here too. Now therefore be it resolved that the original recreation cancellation policy and refund policy adopted by the town board resolution number 70 of 2020 shall remain in full force and effect until further amended by the town board, town board resolution. And I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We should have one of those for taxes.
Well, I know. Just so everyone understands what that is we put some stuff in there for COVID cancellations because we thought that King Cuomo was going to cancel some stuff on us. So we're just removing those because we don't think that that's going to be an issue. All right. Town Board Resolution Number 2113 of 2021, authorizing CPL to prepare renovation, this is not, okay. Authorizing CPL to prepare a renovation estimate for existing Town of Pleasant Valley owned building located at 1903 Route 44. Whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley owns a building located at 1903 Route 44, and whereas the Town Board is interested in obtaining an estimate for renovation of the existing building located at 1903 Route 44 for the purpose of using it as a town hall building. And whereas CPL has submitted a proposal dated February 3rd, 2021 to the town supervisor for the preparation of a renovation estimate in the amount not to exceed $6,000, a copy of which is annexed here too. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes CPL engineers of the town of Pleasant Valley to prepare a renovation estimate for the existing building located at 1903 Route 44 in accordance with the letter proposal dated February 3rd, 2021, a copy of which is annexed here too. Resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to execute the letter proposal by and on behalf of the town of Pleasant Valley. What the hell? I'll make another motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, in the future, I would like to get this ahead of time.
Okay. Any- Motion's been made and seconded.
Yep.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, now, you want to take one out of order?
Which one you want?
The,
Oh, yeah.
the one for the recreation, I don't know how that got.
Oh, that got out, well,
We
okay.
usually do the
Oh, all the
paying
recreation
the
stuff
bills
together.
at the end, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
So we could do 16.
2116, okay. Town Board Resolution Number 2116 of 2021, authorizing expenditure from the Parks and Recreation Reserve Fund established for the town of Pleasant Valley, Dutchess County, New York, in the amount of not to exceed $350,000 for improvements at Helen Aldrich Park / Baker Field, subject to permissive referendum. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Pleasant Valley has established a capital reserve fund pursuant to Section 6C of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York by Resolution 49 of 2004, and whereas the Town Board owns recreational land known as Helen Aldrich Park, Baker Field, located at 27 Hibernia Road, Salt Point, New York, and whereas the town desires to install a standalone bathhouse restroom facilities, which will include drinking water, a drinking water well, and a subsurface disposal system, septic tank, and leach field at Helen Aldrich Park. And whereas the cost of the improvements is estimated to be $350,000, and whereas it is estimated that the $350,000 of the total anticipated project cost will be financed by the use of the Parks and Recreation's Reserve Fund of the Town of Pleasant Valley, a capital reserve fund hereto established pursuant to Section 6C of municipal law. And whereas the town board has determined that the improvements is a Type 2 action as defined in 6 NYCRR 617.5, Section C, subset 9, and accordingly, the town board hereby expressly determines that this action is not an action that requires environmental review pursuant to the provisions of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and pursuant to 6 NYCRR Part 617. Now therefore be it resolved that the town supervisor of the town of Pleasant Valley be hereby authorized and directed to transfer from the Parks and Recreation Reserve Fund to the town of Pleasant Valley to an appropriate capital reserve project expense item, $350,000 of the principal and accumulated interest in the said Parks and Recreation Reserve Fund of the town of Pleasant Valley to pay for the cost of the improvements at Helen Aldrich Park. And be it further resolved that this resolution is subject to permissive referendum. I will make a motion.
Any discussion?
I mean, we talked about this enough.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we can do take another one out of order before we do the bills.
Oh, which one, the minutes?
No.
Oh, this one, the one?
Public
Getting there.
Health
Hold on, I'm getting
Emergency
there.
Plan one?
2117.
2117. All right, resolution approving the formation of a Public Health Emergency Plan Committee for the town of Pleasant Valley. Whereas New York State amended the provisions of the state labor law, Section 27-C of New York State Education Law, paragraph K and L of subdivision 201-A as amended by, this is ridiculous. Whereas the said legislation requires in relevant part public employers to adopt a plan for operations in the event of a declared public health emergency involving a communicable disease, including the identification of an essential portions, facilitation of remote work and non-essential portions, provisions of personnel protective equipment, and protocols for supporting contact tracing. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Pleasant Valley does hereby create a public health emergency plan committee for the town of Pleasant Valley to formulate such plans for the town in accordance with the requirements of S-8617B/A10832, and be it further resolved that said committee shall be an advisory committee only, and be it further resolved that the members of the committee shall include Town Supervisor Frank Szynski, Highway Superintendent John Baxter, Town Clerk Mary Beth Muir, Town Councilperson Mary Albrecht, and such other officers and employees of the town or members of the community as and may be appointed by the town board hereinafter. And be it further resolved that said committee shall submit its finalized plan to the town of Pleasant Valley and the labor union representing the employees of the town of Pleasant Valley by March 31st, and shall be incorporated into the town of Pleasant Valley comprehensive emergency plan. I will make a motion.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just so everyone understands that this is required by law, that we have to, the idea being that we just went through a pandemic and we kind of wrote the book. Now they want us to really write a book,
Yeah.
so that when this happens again, we can read the book. So,
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, let's go back and do the minutes.
yep,
Accept the minutes from December 28th, January 6th, 11th, 13th, 19th, 22, and 26.
I will make a motion to accept all of them. We need a second.
Oh, second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, now we gotta pay the bills, right? Okay, resolution number 2114, authorizing payment of abstract number 2 of 2021. Whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley Town Board has audited the bills presented by the town clerk and an abstract has been compiled, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to pay all the claims as follows. Abstract 2 of 2021, general fund claims, $88,003.82. Abstract 2 of 2021, highway fund claims, $29,392.41. Abstract number 2 of 2021, ambulance, $13,420. Abstract number 2 of 2021, streetlights, $4,086.88. Abstract 2, capital project, $41,344.50.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 2115 of 2021, authorizing payment of abstract 2P of 2021. Whereas the town board, Pleasant Valley Town Board has audited the bills presented for consultant escrow fees as specified by Town Code 82-15, 98-91, and so forth by the town clerk, and an abstract has been compiled and now therefore be it resolved, the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to pay all claims as follows. Abstract 2P of 2021, planning and zoning escrow, $2,188.67.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Before we open the meeting to the public, should someone make a motion, should we schedule a special meeting to effectuate any of the budgets, should we hold a special meeting to get the overtaxed money into a special account sooner rather than later?
I think we were gonna do it on March 3rd, correct?
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry.
That's what Paul told me.
Okay.
Actually doing resolution. Yeah, right, you guys have to discuss what exactly, how much money you want to move over. You
Oh,
can't see paid, but
Well, I discussed it with Paul. He said we could do it at the March 3rd workshop.
you gotta do it by resolution. But like
Yeah.
I said, all of you get on the same page to make sure, you're adopting, which number you're adopting.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no.
So,
I think everything that we took, we have to put away. I mean, like, we can't, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever the number of the overtax payment was is what I feel that we need to put in this special reserve fund. I understand contractually, we only have to put a portion in, but we can't, we have to put it all in. We can't do that. It's like highway robbery.
So we don't have to set a special meeting then?
No,
We'll just
that's
do it
fine.
March 3rd.
That's fine, that's fine.
okay?
So, all right, I'll make a motion to open the meeting to the public.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
3 or 4 minutes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, perfect.
3 or 4.
Oh, 3 or 4 minutes, which one?
3.
3 minutes.
That's what we voted on. I mean, we voted on the last meeting, so.
Okay.
Gary Veeder, Salt Point Turnpike, Pleasant Valley. I have sat here so disgusted that I couldn't wait to get up here. There are 20 people here that cannot speak to any action because you've already voted on them. That is so discourteous to change that and put it at the end. A number of things during this meeting. We operate under rules of order, Robert's Rules of Orders. Is that allowable, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, there it is.
It's allowable to wait to the end after everything's done to talk?
Yes.
Good. I just have no legal standing. I came here in 1965. My wife and I came to a meeting. Cecil Thoreau was the supervisor. We sat down in the back of the room, which is now the police headquarters up in the town garage. Short story, it's not going to go on forever. We sat there through most of the whole meeting. Finally, Cecil looked at us and said, "What are you people doing here?" I said, "We just moved into town. We would kind of like to know what's going on." Well, we got a very similar situation here. We're in town. I don't know what's going on. Recreation resolutions. You discussed all the recreations, and I'm not opposed to a lot of it. But you just spent over $400,000, and there's nothing on here that tells you exactly what the motions were going to be. You had resolutions all prepared and everything. It just, it blows my mind. Councilman Mazzella, you voted on your own appointment. That seems to me to be out of order. But it has happened before here. You have down here an executive session. An executive session has to be on certain specific things, and action cannot be taken. You usually close the meeting, have your executive session. You have to take any action from that meeting at a public meeting. Not the discussion, the action. I'm just very, very, very disappointed in this board.
In the back. You could
Yeah,
just go on up.
It doesn't. Yeah, Mark, if you want to.
Mark Figliozzi, Pleasant View Road in Pleasant Valley. Two things. One, as far as the recreation building, you may want to look at grants. County has a lot of grants out there. You can get at least $50,000 or $75,000 for accessibility. And there's many other grants out there. You can probably take a lot less money out of that fund and use it for renovation of the fields or something like that. The other thing is, as far as the budget, the county is not the check and balance for the budget. Check and balance for the budget is filing for the tax cap with New York State. There's no fewer than 10 to 12 reminders that come into the supervisor's office. I know that because I was a supervisor, reminding you by email to file the tax cap. If that was done, none of this would have happened. So maybe this year, if you look up, get your password, log in to the controller's office, file the tax cap, you'll see exactly where you are, to the penny. Thank you.
Carol Campbell, 122 Marshall Road. First of all, the supervisor's the chief financial officer. And having sat in that seat along with Mr. Figliozzi, we understand how important that is. Second of all, the bookkeeper and the budget director works directly under him. And while I don't think anything here was done maliciously, it's reprehensible that this was allowed to happen. I personally am not in favor of the money going into an account. The lawyers might be able to explain that to me, but the residents of this town, in these COVID times with not a lot of money, now have to absorb this 17.5% increase. The 440, it's nice. It may help with the budget next year, but we have a lot of things going on. The state is billions of dollars in debt. And I'm not sure that the residents, even with the extra 440, are going to be able to weather the storm. There's no way to know what's going to happen with CHIPS. There's no way that's going to know what's going to happen with New York State retirement or health insurance. And people's escrows have now changed. And now their escrows are up for something that's this town board's fault, and they're going to be up for another year, and I don't know that the 440 is going to cover it. I understand the implications of trying to do this, but I'm not in favor of it. I would just as soon see the residents get their money back. The second thing I want to talk about is the compactor. One thing that the budget did is it gave me an opportunity to go over it with a fine-tooth comb. And Mary, I think you said at a meeting that the compactor is costing $4,200 a month to operate. I wrote it down on my paper when you said it. I just want to let the residents know that the figures that the town takes in revenue for the compactor, the actual number in 2019 was $68,444. And they have taken somewheres around $50,000 to $60,000 in revenue. The town budgeted $65,000 for revenue this year. So $42,000 is $50,000. And I don't know about Bill and Tom. I can only guess what their salary is. I'm sorry, I got one more thing. I would have been able to talk about the budget at the first part. Could I please have a couple more minutes? I'll be sure, I promise. This is important. So I just want to say that I don't think the doom and gloom that's going on with the compactor is everything that we're hearing, okay? And the third thing I want to say is I gave a letter to this board on December 9th asking for the zoning administrator to get back to the town on an opinion regarding dual authorities. I have it. I'd be happy to give it to the new attorney. I'm still waiting for an answer. And the last thing is to sit here and see this board pass a resolution for $350,000 to renovate up at Helen Aldrich, why I'm not against it. This board never discussed it, never talked about it.
No, correction, we have, actually.
Okay.
If you look back at many meetings, we talked about adding a septic field and a bathhouse so we can have camp up there. I've been talking about it, I think, since November.
I understand that you're talking about it, Frank, but it would have been nice tonight for somebody on this board to inform the residents and the people that are out watching YouTube of exactly what that was instead of just reading a resolution and spending the money. Thank you for allowing me the extra time.
Good evening, Mike Greifenberg, 45 Ryan's Run. I think you guys, it's fair to say that I try to come up here and say something positive when I can. But I gotta say, I gotta echo what Gary said tonight. I'm kind of disappointed. And I'm not gonna point the finger at the supervisor for changing the agenda around, because any one of you could have spoken up and said that you would have liked to see the meeting open to the public in the beginning for agenda items only. Nobody did that. You guys just went along with it. I think it's, I'm disappointed. You guys passed a resolution tonight to spend $6,000 for an engineer to look in renovating the town hall up on Route 44. None of us got to say anything. Nobody, for example, I would have mentioned that I would like still an update on what has happened in the last couple of years, because I still haven't, this is my third time up here now, asking for some kind of update. And I'm not just asking the supervisor, there's 5 of you. Why aren't you guys asking the questions of what's going on? All of us sit here and we don't know what's happening. You guys pass the resolutions and you guys just vote and that's it. Somebody needs to ask the questions of what's going on, what's happening with this, because the longer this building sits there, even if you don't want to use it, sell it, get rid of it, but the longer it sits there, it's costing us money. Just like we're paying $6,000. So if you guys can give an update after the meeting's closed to the public, that would be great. I think people would want to know. And I think this tax thing, you know, when you start thinking about it, it's pretty disappointing as well, because any resident who paid a couple $100 extra, it doesn't sound like much, but if they go and they sell their home tomorrow and move away, or God forbid something happens and they pass away, you just took a couple $100s from somebody, and now you're going to tax them when they might not even be a resident next year. So I understand the dilemma of putting this into an account, and that's the easiest way, but I think it's affecting people more than just simply a couple $100s and paying them back next year for it. So, thank you.
Greg Straley, 47 O'Halloran Circle. I wanted to say one thing about the salaries. One was the highway superintendent. He got a salary raise, correct? Okay. How long was Butch Gardner here? 40 years?
That has nothing to do with it.
Yes, it does. Butch Gardner put his time in for 40 years, and you want to match his salary against Butch Gardner's. Absolutely ridiculous. Man's got to put his time in. He shouldn't be getting the same salary as Butch Gardner gave us his time. And whoever else salary got messed with. And again, when is the zoning going to take care of Peckham and Bonded? The state does not supersede our town zoning. They're starting at 2:30 in the morning for the last 8 years. Enough is enough. I pay my taxes. I do not want to get woke up at 2:30 in the morning and nobody else does. The roads, the ice, everything being tracked out on a county road is downright unbelievable. They are going to get somebody killed. I've been calling Frank for a week about the ice and everything being tracked out in the street. Nothing's being done. There's not a street sweeper up there that's being used. The dust is flying out of the place. The trucks are pulling in, pulling out. Enough is enough. It needs to be taken care of tonight, not tomorrow morning, tonight. They are not supposed to be opening at 2:30 in the morning. The decibels are 50 decibels from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning. They're running way over that. And then it's only 60 from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It needs to be taken care of. I'd like to have a moratorium you guys put out on any large projects until the water and the air study is completed. Because any large project is going to demand water. A moratorium needs to be put on it until the town figures out the water and the air. It's not fair to the residents to be taking this. And that's pretty much about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Roberts, North Avenue. I feel like I've been slapped in the face by the town board. You say, and your jobs insist that you care about the residents. I don't see that care showing for a number of reasons. One, what happened with this tax problem. First of all, you should have had a PowerPoint presentation. We couldn't follow what you were saying. It is still entirely unclear to at least me, and I'm sure many others, exactly what happened. That's wrong. We need to understand what happened, and you need to put it out there to the town in writing on the town website exactly what happened. I do not accept the easy way out of putting that money towards taxes next year for all the reasons that everybody else has said. On top of the fact that the town will then be collecting interest. What about the rest of us? We could have been collecting interest on that money. Our escrow will go up, but I don't find out until the end of the year, and then they add it on to the next year, so it's 2 years before it comes down again. That's not right. If I overpay somebody, a company, a state, a government office, they're responsible for paying me back. I oversee 29 budgets for agencies that have contracts with the state of New York and the reconciliations. I don't see how this can happen. If we overpay them, they pay us back. If they overpay us, we pay them back. There's no way around this. This is not the time to take the easy way out. You need to work with the lawyers on a state level if you have to, and the comptroller's office to figure out how to reimburse us and let everybody know what's going on. The other thing is I am shocked that in a year where everybody is supposed to have an austerity budget, budgets have been cut left and right. You guys voted to give yourself raises? It's one thing to have a flat budget. We are not doing raises for anybody with contracts with the state unless it was a state mandated raise for the new rate, or if it's through a union. Nobody else is getting raises. You're slapping us in the face. You could have decreased this budget by 10%, not flatlined. Everybody else has decreased. You don't care about us. I am just sick of all of this.
Just for clarification, we didn't vote for any raises of anyone sitting on the board here.
How did you get them?
No, it wasn't for us. It was for the highway superintendent.
I don't know, the budget I looked at, I saw more than the highway superintendent got a raise, the one that is listed online on the website.
Right, but no one, with the exception of the town clerk, no one sitting here actually got a raise.
Well, I didn't say, I'm talking about everybody that got a raise. Nobody should be getting a raise.
I actually took a reduction.
Well, that's great, and so should everybody else then. But nobody should be getting a raise. That is just absolutely ludicrous in these times. It's time to cut the budget. And by the way, the comptroller's office has lots of information on how to prepare budgets.
Go ahead up, Kathy.
Kathy Kruger, Rawls Road. I have to say, I'm very impressed with a lot of the things that Don said, and Carol said, Mike said, and Ms. Roberts said, is that your name? I'm sorry, said over here. She's absolutely correct. First of all, I'd like to know, when was this mistake with our taxes first found out? And I like the way everybody's, what?
Actually, to be honest with you, we found out the morning that we had a special meeting. We had a special meeting about, to be honest with you, forget what we had a special meeting for. And we adjourned the meeting, and then John said to us, what did we do with the tax bills? Or we went to executive session, and John asked about the tax bills. I'm like, what are you talking about? So it was beginning second week of February, right? Roughly around that time frame? Yeah. That's when we found out.
So the tax bills went out already before you even realized?
Well,
how the hell does that
happen? Just to clarify, the budget that we passed was correct. What was submitted to Dutchess County real property tax was the issue. That's what the library fund, right? That is built into our budget. The paperwork that we pass is built into our budget, right? When we submit that to Dutchess County real property tax, that was supposed to be removed from the operating line for the general fund, and that's why you see the library as a separate item on your tax bill. Correct? I know the answer is yes, but like you see the library as a separate item, right?
I understand.
So it's not that way in the Pleasant Valley's world. The library is not separated out at all. It's considered in our general fund.
When that is submitted, who looks at that before it is submitted? I'm sorry, I'm just a nurse.
No.
And I'm not saying that because I respect nurses by all means. I've been a nurse for over 30 years. But what I want to know is there are checks and balances when it comes time to submit these forms. Just like my God in nursing for years, when I had pediatrics, you have a doctor's order to give a child a narcotic, okay? I can't just give that child that narcotic. I have to check with another nurse to make sure that the dosage is correct. And then 2 or 3 of us watch when we draw up that medication in a syringe before we give it to that child, or we could possibly kill that child. So that's my nursing perspective. So when you're doing a budget and you're submitting the paperwork, I want to know how many people need to look at that before they realize that there is an error here. And then when that error is found, why in God's name wasn't there some kind of announcement? People got their tax bills. We should have had some kind of an explanation as to what the heck happened, what we're going to do to try to fix that. I mean, you're busy throwing Frank under the bus right now with what you said. I don't know what your political aspirations are, but I'm getting the gut feeling that everybody's going to start throwing each other under the bus and saying, he doesn't do his emails, and he doesn't do this, and he doesn't do that, so it's all his fault. It can't be just one person's fault. There are all of you, and there's the bookkeeper. There've got to be checks and balances for what the heck is going on when you do this budget. And then you had to.
We don't do that part of the budget.
Well, who the heck does?
The 2 people, the bookkeeper and the supervisor, who is the head CFO of the town.
And you had nothing to do with it when you voted and so forth?
No, Kathy, I could show you I emailed Dutchess County real property tax.
All right. I mean, when you accepted the budget, but anyway.
No,
I'm getting at.
We accepted the budget, it was going to be a 0 increase.
Okay, but then what I want to know is when these tax bills went out, where were you guys?
So Dutchess County makes the, right, so. Dutchess County prints the bills, and.
In December?
Mid-December.
Mid-December? Okay.
I don't see them until
When?
January.
So,
The end of January.
so when you saw them, what happened?
That's not me to decipher if they're right or wrong. I go by what is submitted.
So nobody seems to know.
No, so I can follow me. So we passed the budget, right? The budget we passed did have a 0% tax increase, as affirmed by our attorney before Paul had to leave. The issue comes to when we submit the form to Dutchess County Real Property Tax.
Okay.
What I guess has been done in the past years of this town operating is we take our operating budget, and then mentally you'll subtract $440,000 or whatever the library tax is at that point, because it just went up 2 years ago. So you'd subtract that and make it on its own separate line. That was not done. So the idea being that the general fund seemed like it was increased, technically speaking, it was.
All right, and then when that mistake was found out?
Yep.
When was that happened? The day that happened?
That was the second week of February when we found out. Mm-hmm.
Okay. No.
February 29th.
Oh, it was whenever we had that special meeting is when we found was.
January 29th.
Sorry, January 29th.
So this is what you're telling us right now, that you didn't know until.
January 29th? And we automatically assumed, so when we looked at we then each pulled our property tax bills from the town clerk. We noticed that the equalization rate went down to 97.5%, which actually increased everyone's assessment, okay? So we then scheduled a special meeting to talk to the assessor, because we assumed.
Don't ever assume.
Well.
That's a horrible
So
thing to say.
we scheduled a special meeting with the assessor to get more information to see if that was actually what happened.
Yeah.
So we scheduled a special meeting with the assessor. We've come to find it's not the assessor. It was the fact that the library got counted as a separate line item and in our general fund.
Then my next question would be, I'm holding the newspaper here. Okay, and Szynski's does not believe the state controller has been officially notified of this situation. Now, this came out February 10th through the 16th for this newspaper. Why wasn't the comptroller notified beforehand?
Do you remember when I called you? Do you remember when I called your office, rather?
You called Albany a week ago, last week?
Last week?
Yeah.
Okay, today's the 17th.
So before that?
I mean, before the newspaper, well, the
Well, you said that was
newspaper
dated the
came
10th.
out, it was the 10th through the 16th is when this,
Right, so
when
before-
he was interviewed, I don't know. But as soon as you found out that mistake was made, didn't you think that, number one, you should actually call somebody who probably knew what they were doing, and number two, might know how to give you an ideas of what to tell the public, the people here in Pleasant Valley that are going to get stuck with these taxes, what you're going to do to prevent this from happening in the future? I mean, we're entitled to know this information, and I feel like there's been no transparency whatsoever from this board to explain to people what the heck is going on. And it's not just, it's emails too. And it's not just to Frank. There have been plenty of emails to others on this board, phone calls that do not get responded to. There's no transparency. There's no professionalism. There's no accountability from you people on this board. Emails get lost. They don't get put into computers. Complaint forms that are filled out do not get put into computers. What the heck is going on in this town? I have also had people who have worked for, I won't say people, others who have possibly, I don't want to mention names, that have worked and said that we have been specifically told by people on this town board not to talk to the residents of Pleasant Valley and let them know what's going on in this town. That is absolutely frightening. I don't know all the aspects of Peckham. I feel sorry for what people are going through. It's sad that our zoning department, and I don't even know if we have a zoning administrator or he's just a contractor. I haven't got a clue still what the heck is going on in that department. But, you know, it's just sad that you can't get answers from when you ask questions. When a question is asked, somebody should say, if they don't know the answer, I don't know that answer, but let me tell you, I will find out what that answer is, and I will get back to you in such and such a time. You people leave us hanging, and we come back over and over again asking the same questions, and we still don't get answers. And now I don't know what's happening with Peckham and all the rumors going on in the Facebooks about fire departments and building, you know, getting land to build a bigger fire department. I don't know what that's all about. But the next thing I see is Facebook saying, fire department, don't respond to anybody about this. I mean, it's just like every time you turn around, do not talk to the residents of Pleasant Valley. Do not let them know what's going on in this town.
Is there really a good time for any of us to respond to anything on Facebook? Seriously.
Seriously. Then when people call you or they email you.
I'm asking you about Facebook.
You can put a little note in Facebook. Sure, or you can give somebody.
It makes a storm that you can't even imagine out there. People assuming of what we're thinking. First of all, none of us have ever told anybody not to tell the residents of anything that is going on or not going on. I, for one, have never done that. I think you have to understand, I didn't know a lot of this either, okay? Which is one of the reasons I read what I read. It took me a week to write that. You have to understand, I didn't have an idea of a lot of the stuff until tonight.
But that's not a great excuse.
No. Oh, I know.
Saying, I don't know.
You know what? That's why I don't think our bookkeeper should be employed by us anymore. We have to make serious changes in our town to move forward and to make sure that everybody is accountable for what they do.
Then why aren't the residents, why don't we know what your plans and actions are? We should have known this information. We should have known what the mistake was.
I should have known what the mistake was and told the truth.
You know,
I know it's hard for you to understand that, but it's the truth.
It's not just me that doesn't understand. I'm sure there's a lot of people in this town that don't understand how.
To you right now.
We don't understand, our board members don't understand, yet we're the ones paying the taxes.
No, I'm paying a whole lot of taxes also. I'm not any more happy about it than you are. Believe me, I flipped out when I found out.
What I would like, and I think there are other residents that would like it, I hope I'm not speaking just on behalf of other people that don't want to have me say this, but I really feel we need transparency, we need accountability, we need professionalism, and we need you to respect the people of this town. Tell us the truth when you know it, as soon as you know it, and stop hiding and stop throwing each other under the bus. I didn't know this, I didn't know this, he doesn't do emails, whatever. Not an excuse, not an excuse.
I didn't really use my 3 minutes. Greg Straley. I got a letter from the lawyers, and it's, they wrote it out on the 10th. It was about the appeal, and I'd like to consult the lawyer, and so he'd listen to this. The lawyer that I got from you about, you know, stating the appeal, that I was supposed to appeal it in 30 days, I was in here probably 3 to 4 times a week to turn in the appeal letter. Frank Szynski and Mary Beth kept telling me, we don't have a lawyer, we don't have a lawyer, we don't have a lawyer. That went on for 6 weeks, and you know we didn't have a lawyer. How can I appeal something when they won't accept the paperwork to appeal it?
No, that's,
No, so how can you send me a letter? Now you know that I was trying to turn the paperwork in, and they wouldn't accept it.
Right.
So,
You sent me a letter. Mr. Olson told me to send you the law. I sent you the law. You sent the same letter in again with the same complaint.
yeah.
That's
For,
not an appeal, Greg. That's the
I
same
couldn't turn the appeal in. I had the appeal, but no one would accept it.
You did not give me an appeal, Greg. That
Because
is
you
not
wouldn't
true.
accept it, because we didn't have a town lawyer. Same thing with the petition. The petition was dated January 15th. When I wanted to turn the petition in on that date, you wouldn't accept the petition because you called the lawyer's office and the lawyer said you can't.
now, I'm sorry, sir, you're talking about the petition as far as the ethics committee goes and
No.
conflict of
We're
interest?
talking about.
Or the FOIL petition?
Yes, the FOIL.
Okay, so, in reading the documents that you had sent, you sent first that complaint to the ethics committee. The ethics committee made their determination, there was no conflict of interest. You then FOILed those documents, various emails through that, for that committee. The previous lawyer, this was before our firm was retained by the town, reviewed certain emails, this is my understanding from the town clerk, determined which emails were in fact FOILable. When you FOIL, and you probably know this, when you FOIL something, you're not entitled to all of the documents. There are certain exceptions regarding privacy. That, the previous lawyer determined there were certain emails that contained personal information, and that would not be turned over to you. Now, we had not, the town had not received any written appeal, which is why you got the letter you got from us, saying you were supposed to appeal your FOIL. You know, you would receive certain FOIL emails. No appeal was filed in those 30 days, which is why you then received a letter saying, no, this matter is closed. You know, that's what I can say to you right now.
Right. So someone else can file the same complaint I did.
Someone, are you talking, what kind of complaint? You're talking about a FOIL petition?
The same exact complaint that I filed, someone else can refile it, correct?
I want to know if there's a conflict of interest.
Right, I can understand that. I mean, somebody can refile it, whether the ethics committee is going to take that up is on the ethics committee, because they've already determined, you know, the same complaint. So I can't speak to what the ethics committee is going to do with a second complaint.
I never got the documents, number one, I never got the documents from them even having a chatter between 3 of them. There was nothing in any of those emails that I received. There was nothing stating that Gary Veeder was talking to, you know, the head guy on the ethics or the other guy. There was nothing there in any of those where they were discussing anything. So how did they go and discuss it when they didn't discuss nothing on any emails? And if it's private, why is it private?
That I can't speak to just because I wasn't the one who reviewed those particular emails. That would have been a different firm than us. My understanding is there was a determination that those emails contained private information, in the sense personal privacy, not just information that, you know, was being maliciously hidden.
But again, there was no talking session between all three of them from the ethics. There was nothing said where Gary was talking to the head guy or the other guy. There was no conversation, zero. All they said is, no, there was nothing there.
Okay.
And that's totally wrong. Whatever, I'm gonna have somebody else refile it. That's all. That's all.
Would anybody else like to speak? John? Oh,
Yeah, I got it.
I didn't see it.
Good evening. Mike McRitchie, 70 Smith Road, Pleasant Valley resident. I have a question for the board. Can you tell us if the supervisor's annual fiscal report for 2020 was filed with the state by the end of January of this year? Also, what was the actual fund balance as it relates to your anticipated fund balance in your 2021 budget?
To be honest with you, go ahead. No, go ahead. I can't answer any of that, but we have asked for all of that in an email to the board, so. We've been waiting for, I've asked, the attorney's asked, we've been waiting for the fund balance, so I don't know what that is. If I did, I would tell it to you. But I don't know what it is. I've asked for it. And then I don't know if I'm assuming it's been filed, but then yet again, we know what assuming does, so I can't say that it's been filed. I mean, has it been?
I can't answer that question either. Melanie, has it been filed?
I'm sorry, no, I don't know right now.
We can get back here, though.
Thank you.
Don Sagliano, 35 Ryan's Run, Pleasant Valley. You mentioned, or you adopted the minutes from January 26th. If you go to the website, that was a special town board meeting to discuss pumps and the gas tanks for the highway garage. Was there additional discussion about the tax situation at that time? Because it's not what the status was of the special town board meeting.
That was outside the meeting that we grabbed documentation, we all grabbed personal documentation from Mary Beth and such.
Okay, so when did you meet with the assessor?
29th.
No, there wasn't anything talked about like that on the 26th. It was the 29th.
Okay, so then on January 29th, you're telling us that you had an illegal town board meeting because it wasn't noticed.
No, we noticed that meeting.
It was?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it's not on the town Facebook page or website. And if it was noticed, how come those minutes aren't being accepted? In addition to that, and you don't have to respond, Councilwoman Albrecht, in the 7 years that I've been a county legislator, and prior to that, the 7.5 years I was on the town board, the ordinary and customary performance of the county legislator, who at that time was Suzanne Horn, the county legislator would attend the regular meeting, not the workshop meetings. Because at the time, in the ordinary and customary format of the town, was a workshop, it wasn't open for public discussion. So that's why I do not attend workshop meetings. In addition to that, there's also conflicts on the first Wednesday of the month. So for your statement, okay, speaking to the fact that the supervisor doesn't answer emails and then saying that I came in here only because it was an election year, that's false. I came in because originally this board had decided to postpone the meeting that was announced on the Facebook page. You were going to postpone it to February 17th. I knew that this tax situation was extremely important. And the fact that, well, you have some town board members says, oh, it was the second week of February. False, you can't even get your facts straight. And you have your town residents here. They want their voices heard. and you shut them down. I made a statement. Why is the meeting being open for agenda items at the end of the meeting? That's reprehensible. You know what they used to call that? That's what Joel Tyner does. That's what Joel Tyner did. And yet you're all not holding up to responsibility. And we just had a question. The supervisor sitting right next to you, Mr. Mazzella, why can't he answer the question? He's the one that's supposed to answer it. He files it. Why are you speaking for him? That's wrong.
Don, can I just address a couple of things you've said? Number one, yes,
Excuse me. It's not a debate for agenda time. Robert's Rules of Order. It's not in the rules of the town. So there shouldn't be debate back and forth. This is the time for the residents of this town to make a statement.
Carol Roberts, North Avenue. I just have one short thing to say regarding the issue with the taxes. Rather than put all the information on the website, I am requesting that a letter be sent to every single taxpayer in Pleasant Valley explaining what happened, the current situation, what you are doing with the money in the meantime, and that a resolution has not been determined yet, that you're still working on it. I think that's very important because most people are not even going to be aware of this increase because your money's in escrow. It's paid by the mortgage company. We just got a receipt saying paid. You know, that's what I'm concerned about. So I think to keep people informed, it is imperative that you take that upon yourselves to do that. And if you don't, you're a failure.
Agreed.
anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Matthew Martini. I'm from Hyde Park, New York, the regional representative for the State Controller's Office. I just want to clarify a few things because I know dates have been tossed around and things like that. Let me just say, last week, our office in Albany was contacted by the deputy supervisor. He contacted the Local Government and School Accountability Division, which is the right division for this issue. They put, I think it was the Attorney Ackerman in touch with our attorneys who advised them on how the best course of action to handle this situation is. And, the attorney today kind of outlined, the best course of action within New York state law currently. I was then notified from Albany's office, actually from the deputy controller, and then another councilman reached out to me to inform me as well. So that's the timeline when the controller's office has been involved. And you guys know, you have any questions for our office, we're here to help. That's really why we're here. We're here to try to figure this situation out, get it all figured out, and give you the best guidance possible. So that's all I wanted to say.
Could I ask the question first, ma'am? May I ask the comptroller a question, or the gentleman from the comptroller's office a question, just real quickly? In light of a lot of the news that you heard here tonight and a lot of the obviously issues that we have here, wouldn't it be prudent if we asked for 100% audit of our entire books or everything that we're doing so that we could start a fresh, new basis and then go from there?
That's something you can ask for. The reality is that because of the situation that we're in with the pandemic and our staff severely understaffed currently, in a good year, an audit takes 6 months, and that's if everybody cooperates.
Okay.
That's just, I'll be completely honest with you. That's what it takes.
It's just a thought, and I thank you very much.
It's up to you to request it, but, I'll give you the honest answer.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
If you have a question, you can talk. Well, it's something I think everybody would like to hear. Okay. I would like to know if the answer that your office gave to the town about putting the money in a separate account to be credited next year, you said that was the comptroller's best answer. But is it the only answer? Do they have other choices that they can make? And if so, it would be great if that could be discussed.
As far as I know, our legal counsel said that is the only recourse they have currently within state law. There is no way to automatically refund it this year.
That's- Unfortunately, the state has provisions that they're able to do that, but the town is bound by the general municipal law. General municipal law points us to the comptroller's direction, and it only says in years that extra monies are taken by a technical or a clerical error, and that's what we have here is a technical or a clerical error. Those monies have to be put in reserve at the recommendation of the comptroller's office, and then they can recommend what to do with it from there. But really, I know that's not the answer people want to hear, but unfortunately, it's the only recourse right now is to try and alleviate the burden on next year's taxes with that extra money. So it needs to be segregated into that reserve account, and that's with advice, being advised by the comptroller's office, reviewing the general municipal law, and that's the resolution that the town board is going to have to adopt next meeting.
And I hope that the letter does explain to people that if you move, you're never going to have it gone. People might not understand.
Were any laws broken? And if so, what are those ramifications? Because you went over our tax cap. So what the heck?
Not to interrupt Kathy, but we would need you on the record.
I just want to add one thing. It took less than a couple minutes here for that question to be asked and that question to be answered. Thank you for asking it. That is the legal remedy, and that's what the board can do. Again, I want to piggyback on what Kathy said and what some of the residents said. You could have avoided a lot of going on with the residents about how they feel about this town board if you were just open and transparent and made that call first and let the town residents know that that was going to be the option. So I have to piggyback on what everybody said. We need transparency. There are things that you don't get in front of. This is one that you should have been in front of. And the only other thing I said, I have to say, I understand that the supervisor is the chief financial officer and the bookkeeper works for the supervisor. But I'd like to see town board members more involved in the budgeting process and paying of bills going forward. I know when I was here, I didn't see enough of it. So I think that everybody has a responsibility to the residents when it comes to the budget.
Anyone else?
Yeah, my question being, we keep talking about laws and rules and regulations. Were there any laws broken here? We did go over our tax cap. And I don't know what the ramifications are going to be for years to come. Now, what do we have, a 17.5-point raise? What happens next year? Does that authorize you to even go above that if you wanted to?
No, so there are...
I'd like to know for sure, because somebody's going to say we need to recoup whatever.
Right, so there obviously are certain rules and procedures as far as adopting a budget under the general municipal law of the town law. This was a mistake, and when the town board adopted the budget, they adopted, a 0% increase budget. The monies that were over and above that tax levy, like I said, and Mr. Ackerman and the board has echoed this, were made because of a clerical error. So, as far as any, there's no malicious intent here. There's no monies that were being hidden. Unfortunately, the only recourse, like I said and the comptroller said, is that alleviation of the tax burden next year. As far as, whether or not the budget procedure went the right way, the town board did adopt that budget that had that 0% increase. We're dealing with a clerical error, we're not dealing with a crime. So we are continuing to work with the town board. You know, my office is going to continue to work with Mr. Martini and the comptroller's office. But this is kind of the state of play right now, and I do understand the anger. Unfortunately, we have to work within the constraints of the law, and it just doesn't allow us to make a refund to individuals or refund the tax bill. It calls for us to put all the monies into a reserve account and alleviate that burden next year. That's the only thing that the municipal law allows us to do.
So basically, the crime really here was not being transparent, not being open and honest, and not letting the residents know this was the mistake, this is what we're doing about it, and this is, you know, making sure, how are we gonna make sure this never happens again? I mean, we need to know these things, and that letter should have been out a long time ago. It really shouldn't have. We shouldn't be sitting here arguing here tonight about what happened, when it happened, who did what. There should have been an immediate letter that went out to people saying, we made a mistake. We are all human. We all make mistakes, but you gotta own up to those mistakes. You just have to, so that people don't starting rumors and mistrust. I mean, it's you know, it's this and it's other things that have gone on this year, last year, whatever, and with this town. And it's not getting better, so you gotta do something quick.
Anyone else?
I'd like one more thing. Greg Straley, 47 O'Halloran Circle. Since the town attorney is here tonight, what is going to take place at Peckham and Bonded at 410 North Avenue about them waking us up at 2:30 in the morning? Because this has been 8 years that this has been taking place. They are not grandfathered, they are nothing. Outside business, 8 a.m. What is going to take place from this day forward on them?
All I can say right now is something we'll look into. And I'm not prepared to say what's gonna happen one way or another tonight, but it's something that we can look into.
If we have town zoning and town zoning states 8 a.m. startup, outside business, what is there to look into? It's 8 a.m. It's an outside business. I mean, it's written down in the zoning. So this is what's been taking place for 8 years. We're gonna look into it, we're gonna look into it. Like I said, I wanna have the answer, so I don't have to be up at 2:30 for the next 8 years.
Listen, I can understand, I understand the frustration. We haven't been here for the last 8 years, we've been here for the last 2 months. So this is, you know, the first I'm hearing of, you know, your complaint, that's all. It's something that I can look into. I'm not, you know, we're not the attorneys who've been here before, you know, we're here now.
But what I'm stating is, we do have zoning in effect. It's 8 a.m. startup.
I can understand that, but I also, you know, there are other things that we would need to look into rather than just that one line of zoning code.
I don't understand, what is there to look into?
Greg, he will look into it.
No, but I don't you need to explain this to me. What is there to look into when it says 8 a.m. outside business startup? What is, it's part of the zoning. They don't go, they're not 7 o'clock, they're not 6 o'clock, they're not 4 o'clock. It's called an outside business. 8 a.m. startup is written in our zoning laws. They don't override anything. They don't supersede New York State, 0. The town has the zoning and it needs to be enforced tomorrow. That's all I'm asking.
Give somebody a newbie.
Oh, okay. Someone else.
I think we should wind this up.
I'm Rebecca Paul at 45 O'Halloran Circle. I'd like to know specifically, unfortunately I came a little late, I had to, but what does it mean by rezoning the Peckham quarry? Can somebody just explain that to me? I've been looking up information, but I just want to know your take on it.
I didn't hear that question, ma'am. Could you just move a little closer?
Sure. What does
Thank
it mean by you're going to be rezoning Peckham?
We're not necessarily rezoning. So Peckham submitted a
request
to, or a petition to rezone a parcel of land that they own. Procedurally, how it happens is it comes before the board. We either vote to approve or to accept or deny the application. Then it would go to planning, zoning, and then it would come back before us, and we would have a public hearing.
Okay.
So that's-
So is there a map that would show where they're looking to do so?
Yes.
There is.
Are you going to put it? I'm sorry. Okay. Are you going to put it to vote to the residents?
No.
But there is no vote at all. All is done is it's accepted, then it is put out for a seeker review for the Dutchess County Planning and our planning board, which could take up to a year.
Okay, so the
Then it
residents.
comes back with recommendations, and then there is a vote.
Well, then we hold a public hearing, and we hear from
Okay.
everybody.
Okay, that's fair, because because, you know, I'm not a new resident. We moved into the area, again, I've lived in Pleasant Valley for 30 years. I got married, I moved away, and I moved back, because I love my home, and I love where I'm at now. But I have a 15-month-old that wakes up at night, and I can hear what's going on at Peckham. I live right there. I am the first resident.
What is your first name again?
Rebecca.
Rebecca?
Paul. And I don't know if any of you have a member that works in a quarry, but I specifically know what goes on in a quarry. I have someone that works on the wall in a quarry, and I know what goes on. So if they rezone, what are you going to do for the residents nearby? Are you going to allow more trees to oxygenate the area? Are you going to allow a time ordinance of when things go on? I have a 15-month-old that wakes up at night. I hear what's going on.
When you say at night, what time are you talking about?
When they start going, they're going at like 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to me. And they go early too. They go sometimes at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's why I kind of wonder, is there really any kind of, do they have rules to follow? Other businesses and residents have rules to follow.
Yes, they do, and I will bring this to the attention of our new zoning administrator.
I appreciate that.
The attorney will look into all of it also.
Well, I just hope that ultimately, one, it doesn't expand, because there's really no reason for it to. There's an actual number, and I have to ask my family member, but there's a number in the state, how many quarries there are. And it's detrimental to his health to be working there, but that's what he signed up to do. But to residents, what are you going to do for us if this was to go forward? Are you going to allow more pollution to take place right there where there's residential? Granted, we made the choice to move there. I get that. But why do other residents that have been there for a long time, because it's over 40 years old, have to go through with it? So.
I would just say, so, as Mr. Mazzella said, it's not something that could happen overnight.
I agree.
Right? So what's on the table right now is just an application. This isn't something that's going to be rezoned tomorrow.
Okay.
The process is the board is going to vote to either approve or deny the application just for review. From there, it's a process,
I understand
and that seeker review is in state environmental policy. So environmental impacts have to be taken into account.
Absolutely, there's a swamp right there,
Right.
with wildlife.
There are a number of things that need to be taken into account.
Absolutely.
Everything you said would be part of that.
Okay, as long as it's brought up to the rest of the residents. Thank you.
Let's wind it up.
Carol Campbell, 122 Marshall. Just for your reference, and I know you're new and I don't expect you to know everything that's going on, but Gary Beck, who's the zoning administrator, wrote a memorandum to the town board dated November 5th. I don't have that with me. I'm sure the town board can get that to you. And I delivered a letter to the town clerk, to the town board, and the town clerk stamped it in at a meeting one night. I followed it up with the town board on December 28th in an email. I've spoke about it at more than one meeting. This is my request to have an attorney review whether or not, render an opinion on dual authorities, okay? The contention here by the zoning administrator is that the state has the authority and not the town zoning laws. And I believe, after looking at zoning and citing the sections in here, that he's incorrect. So I have been asking, and I want to say, I put it in writing. I suggest everybody put their comments in writing. Things seem to be, but it still didn't get where it needed to go to be looked at. So I would like permission from the board to have your new attorney have a copy of my letter. I have it here, I brought it with me tonight. I'm sorry. With COVID and everything, I just don't. Would you? Thank you very much. And again, I understand you're new, but that's what I want to know. I want to know, for the residents that are complaining about Peckham, I want to know if the legal with dual authorities, when you have a state authority and a town authority. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, so.
Hi, Phil Apicino. Just for the attorney, and this meeting tonight was supposed to be, there was a resolution that was read to accept or reject the application. And if I understand it correctly, if this board votes to reject the application, it goes away and they can't come back for another year. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
So, we don't want to hear about accepting the application, then putting this residence through another year of seeker. It's going to go to the planning board, it's going to get approved. It's going to go to zoning, it's going to get approved. And it's going to get approved from Dutchess County. Then it's going to come back to this board, and we're going to go through this for a year and a half. So there's nothing, I do want the residents to be clear, to understand this. This board does not have to accept this application. Is that correct?
Correct. The board has the option to accept.
So they can reject the application, it's done.
Correct.
Thank you.
That's it. I got one more wipe, that's it. That's all I got left.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak?
Hi, I'm Mary Meyer, 28 Clark Heights. I just had a question. You guys passed tonight to spend like $6,000 or $8,000 to get estimates for the new town hall. Is that correct? Now, didn't the previous town supervisor, didn't we already have estimates?
We had
And weren't they posted online?
There was
so
a
why
study
are we
done
spending
by
$6,000 again?
There was a study done by Casey Engineering that compared the use of this building to the old building, or the new building, rather.
But I thought they posted two online 2 years ago with the previous town supervisor estimates. So why are we paying money again to get estimates again? And the previous town supervisor sat there and said how much time he spent working on that project. And now this town supervisor hasn't said anything about spending any time doing anything. So why are we as town residents spending money again to get estimates again?
Well, because that study was done in April 27, 2018. Things have changed. Prices have gone up. It's not a realistic number. We want to get a realistic number so we can figure out what to do with that building. In other words, do we tear it down?
So we're spending money again, another $6,000 to get estimates again?
That's correct.
When we've been waiting 2 years for something to happen?
That's correct.
I don't understand why we're waiting so long. Like, I think somebody else mentioned, this gentleman mentioned the same thing. So here we're spending money again to do it when it's been sitting here for almost 2 years. And the previous town supervisor, he sat there more, I don't know how many meetings I came, and how much time he spent working on that project. You haven't said anything, that you spent any time doing anything on that building.
That's not true.
Well, you haven't said anything, and I've been to a lot of meetings.
That's your opinion.
Anyone else? Hearing none, I move to close the meeting to the public.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.